Last I spoke about the flood and how all in the ark were saved, and how God cleaned up his world when men became depraved. But the ark was much more than a vessel of wood. Its measurements can't be understood. It was a vessel of faith beyond comprehension. They had entered a covenant, a divine dimension. But it was no vacation cruise, not a time to laugh and schmooze, not a time to be enjoyed, while all life was being destroyed. God forbade them intimate relations. It was not a time to feed temptations. For man must not be callous at heart when others' lives are falling apart. But there were 3 aboard who didn't obey and didn't behave in a proper way. Noah's son Ham, the dog, and the raven. Each they well went after their craven. Put it this way, they weren't behaving. Don't worry, I'm keeping this clean. It's all written in the Talmud in Sanhedrin. So God was starting mankind anew. Noah would be Adam number 2. God commanded him and his sons to be fruitful, to multiply and fill the earth. But even more was intended than having children and just giving birth. We all have to be fruitful throughout our life and days by bringing people back to God to serve his will and ways. Saving souls that are misdirected is part of our duty that can't be neglected. Standing for God is a lifelong labor. As the Torah says, you must correct your neighbor. After the flood, there were a few surprises. Things were downgraded from Costco sizes. There was a few things God had to tweak. Animals were smaller, mankind more weak. Mankind's lifespan was cut down in years to cut down time for his sinful ideas. Man would now live till 120. God thought that would be time aplenty. So they multiplied as per God's commands and spread out across distant lands. But as time goes on, men tend to forget the price of sin and all their regret. The flood just happened over 3 centuries before, and mankind was ready to sin once more. Led to rebellion by a man named Nimrod, the people would launch a war against God. They'd build a tower to the sky and take the power away from he on high. They were of one voice and one intention. The sin was that there was no dissension. They all sang the same bad song. No one said, we are doing wrong. They were dead set on building the Tower of Babel. God would save them all the trouble. He confused their language so none could comprehend the words or will of his nearby friend. And that brought Babel to an end. The lesson stands unto this time that we each should speak our mind. When something's wrong and just not right, find your courage, find your might, find your voice, put up a fight, and in the darkness, be the light.